Hey guys, what's going on? Jamil the Investor here, and in this video today we're going to be breaking down the system that allows us to be consistently profitable when it comes to trading futures, when it comes to trading options, and the same one that has been able to yield us 5 figures in our trading career. Not only in this video am I going to be taking time to break down in the form of a presentation how the system works, but we're going to be heading over into TradingView to see live breakdown of how to actually utilize it, what the process typically looks like, and so that way you can simply just duplicate the same exact thing. And if you find this video helpful in solving any of the problems that it helped me solve when it comes to trading psychology or anything else, feel free to duplicate it, feel free to copy it, feel free to implement it in whatever it is that you already have. Bottom line is it's free for you to look at, right? Now, before anything, why us, right? Why should you be looking at this video, right? Number one, we've been able to pass a multitude of funded accounts, not only this, but just numerous ones, whether it be on the 100K, 50K, it doesn't matter. This really isn't too important. However, one thing that I will say is that if you would like for this to be you, right? Where you're doing consistent trades, right? You're being consistently profitable, but more importantly, you're able to duplicate it amongst a number of people as well. If you would like for this to be you, continue listening to this video. If you think that there's more value elsewhere, by all means, click off the video, because at this point, I'm probably going to be wasting your time, right? Lastly, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please have full and utter accountability for the actions and decisions that you decide to make. Now that we got the formalities out of the way, let's get into the main meat and potatoes. Just like every other system, right? One thing that I can say, we do not utilize EMAs. We do not utilize indicators. We simply utilize lines, and that's it. But one thing that I can say that, like many other systems have, we have rules that we follow, and they're super, super important. Number one, A+ setups only. In this system, you're going to be conditioned to shoot for the best of the best. The money makers, the ones that you know will win. Secondly, you only get 2 shots, okay? Honestly, you really just need one. Second one is if the first one doesn't work out. Bottom line is you're shooting for accuracy. Time frames, we utilize the 4-hour, 1 hour, and 15-minute to identify. We're going to go into why this part is very, very important. And then lastly, 5-minute for the execution. And then, of course, we utilize liquidity-based profit taking and risk assessment. And then last but not least, we wait for retests. So small set of rules to follow. However, they're super, super important. Okay. Now, what is it that you can trade when it comes to using this before we really get into this? Okay. Great news to tell you. Once you master it, you're able to use it to trade anything. Doesn't matter if it's Forex, doesn't matter if it's currencies, crypto, futures, options. The moment that you take time to master this process, you will be able to be an unstoppable money-making machine when it comes to the stock market. Right? Now you understand why this is super important, and we're going to actually be taking time to talk and break down process. Because once you master the process, you will be able to duplicate the process and being able to yield the results that you want from following the process, right? Now, why is process so important? It's one of the main reasons why people lose more than they make trading. Why? Because most traders act out of haste and lack of patience instead of waiting for a confirmed change in price action. Keep that in mind, because the process is what makes you money. This video is probably going to be talking a lot more about process rather than money itself. Why? Because if you master the process, you master the result. Okay. Now, how do you solve this? Right? How do you solve being able to master process? You plan more than you play. Most people think that when it comes to trading, you're just simply gambling away, when successful trading is 90% planning and 10% execution. Plain and simple, right? So we're going to be talking about the process. The very first thing, a part of the NTP system that you need to know and understand, is that you first need to identify your support and resistance areas, okay? You can do this by utilizing larger time frames. Now, you don't have to utilize all 3, but your main 3 that you're going to be using at a time, at different moments, but you will be using them, is the 4-hour, 1 hour, and 15-minute. Sometimes you can see things on the 4 hour. Sometimes you can see things on the 1 hour that you may not be able to see on the 4 hour. And then of course, the same thing applies when it comes to the 15-minute. Second, establish your long and short threshold. This is super important. 3, watch for a break above. This would otherwise, vernacular wise, I think this would kind of be a sweep or whatever. Wait for a retest. This is probably the most important thing that is going to seal or determine whether or not this you have a profitable trade. Okay, so always wait for the retest, and then of course, last but not least, execute using the 15-minute or the 5-minute, whatever your preference is. Okay. Now, what does this typically look like on the playing field? Okay. As you can see, these rectangle boxes that we have here, these are what our support and resistance areas are. Here are our lines, okay? Red line is what establishes long side. Green line is actually what establishes the short side. So it's actually inverted, and you'll understand why, okay? So here's the anatomy of a winning setup, okay? As you can see, we have a break below the red, as you can see here, which means it's a short setup forming, okay? So once you understand there's a short setup forming, mind you, this is on the 5-minute right now, it doesn't mean you chase. In fact, you're just playing a simple waiting game, and that's it. What is it that you're waiting for? You're simply waiting for the retest, which is what it is that we get between 11 and we get probably 2.5, maybe 3 hours later at 2 o'clock, okay? We get the retest. The moment that you see this, right, you establish your line. As you can see here at your entry short, this is where the green line would simply be. You establish your risk right above the red line in order to test that being potential resistance. And then your reward is essentially towards the next support and resistance area. Okay. Now, this was actually an alert that we gave out. Let's see how it did when it came to when it comes to the result. Boom. Okay. So as you can see, we made this alert out known to our trading community, okay? And for the people that profited from it, whatever kind of micros that you decided to add on upon it, guess what? This would have been a winning setup simply by following something simple, okay? You have 3 areas that you have established here. You had a break and a sweep below. You have a retest. Boom, right there. You're done for the day. Second one, this is more on the bullish side. Anatomy of a winning setup on upside, right? Again, you have a break above green, which means it's a long setup forming. What is it that you should do in this case? It doesn't mean that you should go after it, but it simply means you wait for the retest. You wait for a retracement. Same exact thing here. Our risk is a lot bigger here, but it follows the same thing where you have your candle. I'm trying to match up with the arrows that we have, but you have your risk being established right below a candle below the initial support and resistance area or threshold. Okay, as you can see here, this is our entry long. Why? Because we have a sweep. We're simply just waiting for a retest and then a push further up. Again, another entry in or another alert that we made in our trading community. Let's see how it panned out. Again, this one took a lot longer. This one actually went from 11, I think 10 opening of the markets. I think it's probably like at 10 o'clock or so, all the way into end of the day where you probably could have pulled out maybe around 1 o'clock or so, right? But the bottom line is exact same thing. You have your support and resistance areas here. This is where you have your long and short thresholds. You commit to the retest. You sit there and wait for the result. You do not trade anything else besides this. What exactly does this mean? If there's an A+ setup, does it fit the system? Meaning, is there no retest, right? Do you take the trade? No, you don't. Do you see a potential $1,000 play and you know where it's going to go, but there's no retest and it doesn't fit the system? Guess what? You don't take the trade. What does this mean and what should you expect on a regular everyday basis that does not fit this system? Certain days, you're just going to be watching price action and not trading anything at all. Not to say that this is often, but sometimes you're going to have those days. Waiting constantly for one thing and one thing only, and that is a sweep and a retest, and that's it. And then choosing the best time to trade. Sometimes you're not going to be trading on FOMC day. Sometimes you're not going to be trading before news. Sometimes you're going to be sitting there waiting for the opportunity to present itself, and you're not choosing for time-related things to be the reason why you make profitability. Why is this good though? Because then all the onus is on you to plan out your success every single day when it comes to you trading. Every day that you go to sleep, you prepare the night before, your level of success is going to be determined based off of how well you planned the previous day and the day of. Everything else after that is simply just waiting. So what are our key takeaways here? Number one, the NTP system utilizes liquidity-based methods with price action to establish sound trading psychology that will allow the user to eliminate risk and maximize profits. I would probably change eliminate to mitigate risk or lessen it. Okay. There's no risk with no reward, especially in this game. Or there's no reward without risk, right? Follow the rules and the criteria of the trading profiles. The more specific, the more proficient. 1 to 2 trades a day is all you really need in order for this to work. Using your time frames from macro to micro to help you identify liquidity, optimize execution, and improve trading psychology is the best policy. Pay less attention to current price action and more on previous price action. Why? This is probably one of the ones that I would probably star on this entire list. Why? Because previous price action is always going to show you where your support and resistance areas are currently at, and is going to tell you where your next piece of price action will present itself. Liquidity-based profit and risk assessment helps maximize profit to mitigate risk, which is the same thing on bullet number 2. Bullet number 1. And then of course, wake up every day to see the process, not the money. This is probably the most important one. Why? Many people get into trading thinking that they're going to make millions and millions and millions of dollars. And it's not to say that you can't. But the thing that I will say, and I will tell you, and you'll probably hear this from a multitude of traders. Okay? If there's anybody who's successful that you run into or that you listen to or you watch their content, they're probably going to tell you the exact same thing. They do not focus on the money. They do not care about the money. They care about a trade following its process, and that's it. Why? Because they know that if they stick to the process, they become obsessed with the process, then they get the consistency of the result every single time. Right? So that's everything in this video. Again, after this, we're going to be breaking down live with you on how we actually implement this process over to TradingView. But before we get to that, if you want help when it comes to implementing this process, you want to work with our community, you want to work specifically with me in order to implement this, and it helps you solve the problems that you are encountering currently when it comes to trading, join our community. We are on WAP. Have access to the Investors Funding Academy so that way you can change the results of your trading now. So what it is that we're going to do beyond this, we're going to be going over and transitioning now over into TradingView, just so you can see how it is that we break our NTP system process down step by step. Over to TradingView, and as you can see, we already have a couple of support and resistance areas essentially established. How is it that you can actually make these? Again, we have our toolbar down here. The only tools that we particularly utilize the most when it comes to trading specifically is really just a rectangle tool, of course, your long position, short position, and your horizontal lines. When it comes to us, we don't utilize any indicators. We do not utilize EMAs. And occasionally when it comes to giving out our projections, we will use the path. We'll use the path tool to establish retest areas, so on and so forth, right? Outside of that, we probably utilize price range when it comes to stocks, and of course parallel channels when it comes to a hard look at long-term projections. But these are your main 4 that you can essentially utilize, right? Now, as you can see, we have a main piece of support here. This is from price action back during the beginning of July, leading into July 4th. Okay. Now, as you can see, we had our major rally up here, and then we just have a breakdown over the course of early close of the markets, July 3rd into July 4th, right? So these areas start to establish themselves right? And you can tell there's a major support and resistance area by understanding the point of the retests. Okay, these are super, super important. Okay, if there is a retest, that means that has now become new resistance or new support, whatever way, vice versa. Okay, in the event that you have something like this, right, where you just have a constant breakdown, right, especially something that you have here, what can happen next is you can essentially block out. As you can see, we have a number of these already established. You can actually take this out. Why is this super important? Because the moment that you have a retest and you have just like another sweep down, this now becomes the area that has to be retested back up in order for it to come back down. So if we actually go on the 5 minute time frame now, and we go back to this area, as you can see, the previous area that we had established over the 4th of July weekend has now been eliminated. Why? Because we swept through it. Now at the start of the markets Monday at around 10 o'clock, 9:45, 10 o'clock, guess what? This is your short now. And again, we only really do 1 or 2 contracts, but again, this is your established short here. I just put down a limit instead of. So if I were to drag this to the current price action that we have here, toggle on to our candlesticks. Now we have a play that could set us up for about $2,200 on one play. Just like that. $2,200 on one play. Why is it super important? We utilize the 15-minute, and we're going to continue to find more examples or give more examples in order for you to see this, because again, these were already established. But again, utilizing and understanding these support and resistance areas, right? We saw that there was a break. There needed to be a retest. We caught the retest at lit exchange hours, and it grinded all the way down into 2,200. Again, why did we choose this area? Because this is the next area of support and resistance. Okay. And so now, say for instance, the next day rolls on by, right? Where we just have all of this stuff, right? Now, as you can see, this has become another resistant area. What does this mean? How do we know? Because there is a retest right here. Okay. Doesn't matter, particularly for me, I utilize a line chart in order to establish those areas a lot more. But again, bottom line is we have the very same thing established here. That's it. And now, as you can see, now when we go over into the next day, this is our area that we're trading with. This is the area that we're trading with. Okay. Beyond this point, you can start to see and understand that around, once again, 12 o'clock, we have this made, and again, we don't have a retest from previous day, but we have all of this, and then we have that retest, and then once again, you have another push down back into the next support and resistance area. Okay. The only thing that you're doing beyond this point, right? And again, you have a sweep down below the red line. And now you have a retest that's become resistance, and now here we have it. Okay. Same exact thing here going into the next day. And again, it is super important for you to definitely check extended hours, especially if you're trading futures. Why? Because again, the more information that you have when it comes to trading previous price action, the better you're able to understand where price action is going currently right now, right? Again, this is what it is that we have over the course of 2 o'clock. Where we just have this established support and resistance area. Then of course into Monday. Well, excuse me, into Wednesday. We have this major rally that we have, but again, we still don't have this. We still do not have a breakaway when it comes to this. Right? So because of that, you can drop a short right here onto the next supporting area. Okay? And then beyond this, this is now the area that you want to start trading with. What does this look like on the regular exchange on the regular exchange hours? Again, same resistance areas, same retest area. Okay, drop down into the next support and resistance, and of course we make our climb back up where now it is established its support. Now here's also another thing. When you have a breakdown, a lot of times you can when you have those breakdowns, you can take away, right? Say for instance we had this right here. You can actually take away again the support and resistance area in order for you to have a clear path of the next one. But when you have one that supersedes it, well, just toggle it back on. Why is this super beneficial in my opinion? Because once you establish your main support and resistance areas, the only thing that you have to do is just toggle between which ones are present in terms of the price action that you have. Just like we're doing now. Again, we have a retest here around 9:45, 10 o'clock. And then again, we have a push. And if that's not the move that you got because it's too early and you're a person or individual that likes to wait after 10 o'clock, well, guess what? It's the same exact thing where now this previous area that we had here now becomes support instead of resistance. And then we push up even higher. Now, as you can see, towards the end of the day, we have a major breakdown, and into the next day, we have this. What does that mean now at this point? And the only thing that we're doing is now just a rinse and repeat. That's all we're doing at this point, is simply rinsing and repeating. Okay. Once again, we have a major breakdown in terms of price action where now that area has become its resistance. Okay. Now that we have actually checked, and now we're into the 9:30. Again, technically speaking, right? You can actually push. This is where I believe where we're at right now. You can actually push for this to be knocked down. Okay. Where now, again, this is your support area. And now we're retesting this. So this is a major chop area beyond this point. But again, to understand where it is that you need to apply yourself at, and this is why we utilize the line chart. Again, unless it's above this area right here, then there's no long. How do you know? Because this has been major resistance for most areas, and then it's even for the coming day. Okay. So again, if you want to apply that into the end of the day, well, guess what? There's your profit towards the end of the day. Would this still have been successful in some aspect? Yes, 100%. But these are one of the days actually where what your patience would be tested very greatly. Why? Because this didn't even complete until after hours, and again, as you can see at that point, it would have been closed out. Okay. We're on to the next day where again we're sitting at 11 o'clock, 11, 12 o'clock. Okay. We have once again same push where now we can actually see and understand what this particularly looks like when you start establishing, and of course we already have our long and short positions set up for this, right? Where now you can actually start establishing where and how you actually want to put your risk. Again, right candlestick right below the break of the support area, and then again your risk taking, unless you choose to manually take profit, that is what your setup is supposed to be. Pretty simple, right? If nothing, if it gets too complicated for you to take away and double back and things of that nature, by all means, if you just simply follow the correlations between the previous support and resistance area, you will be able to be consistent when it comes to this, right? This was one of those plays where it could potentially be very difficult, because now this is an area that becomes support. This was a resistant area, but again, that's not one that we particularly took. It was this right here. We do not play during the start of the markets, okay? Where now, okay, bet you have a breakdown and then you have a retest. Well, guess what? Now it's simply just going for the next area. And as you can see, it would have been something that would have fit. Now this one is particularly different, right? Why? Because according to this, though it would have been a successful play, right? Technically, the one at 3 o'clock is what would have secured you all the way down. Okay. Now this is once again a play that we ended up taking, but again, you're not gonna always have one that's gonna be perfect. The bottom line is, as long as you follow the process, you will be good in what it is that you need. Right? Same thing when it comes to this. Right? So the whole bottom line is, when it comes to being able to follow these, once you have your support and resistance areas established, and again, if we go on a much larger time frame, right? Say for instance, we go on the 1 hour, because I can see that the 4 hour is a little bit too much. You can start to see, understand, and establish where these areas particularly are, right? And if it's not as present, okay, well, you need to start training your eye. Like even right now, right? If we were to toggle and we were to just go off of the current price action that has happened between July and August, and we just toggle these off for a second, you can fairly begin to understand where your support and resistance areas particularly are at, based off of just understanding the correlations. Major support, major resistance until it becomes support. This is another support area, right? This is another support area. It's broken down, it retests up here, it fails. Guess what? We come back down to here. Same exact thing every single time. Now, if we were to, we might have to, like I said, we might have to look for this. Let's just say perfect. Let's go ahead and establish everything here. We're not even going to put out everything, but perfect. If we just utilize these three right here, not those, the one below it. If we just utilize these right here, this makes a substantial amount of difference when it comes to trading. Why? Because if you only traded this right here, and again, maybe say for instance you're not a day trader. Say for instance you're someone that just trades support and resistance based off of when they show themselves, right? That means you're not trading on the 3rd, but you have an established support, resistance area. You might be trading on the 8th because of the fact that there's an established support area, and then you just constantly trade that into like longer term. And again, this will be able to be done through a personal account more than a funded account from a prop firm or anything, because they have their own restrictions. Personal account, you have your own capital. You can hold, you can do whatever, right? This right here would still be a lot more successful than the person just blindly day trading, whether it be indicators or anything else, right? Say for instance you do the same exact thing here, and again you just establish your risk in whatever way, shape, or form, right? Again, you just apply this. As you can see now, this is no longer resistance. This becomes support. We push up to the next area. This becomes resistance. You make note of it. It pushes back down. You long. Okay. You go here again. There's no support here. There's no support. There's no retest here. So that means you basically again start annotating and knowing and understanding where your next support and resistance areas are. Perfect. Same exact thing every single time. And again, this is just on the 1 hour, right? It's the same exact thing every single time. Okay. So again, this was a previous support area around this that actually broke down. Okay. So if we actually, and again, this is going to probably be the last thing, right? Previous support area, this is resistance, excuse me. It breaks down, then we retest, and then we break all the way down. This is now, I believe this was during the Fed meeting. we had earnings that came up. And again, we utilize really after hours in order to understand these areas. Now we can see a full-fledged understanding in terms of the major resistance that we have up here. We have a breakdown. Why is this super important? Because now that we have a full-fledged breakdown before a retest, these get knocked out of the way very quickly. Boom. Now, the moment that you have your retest, guess what? Now you have full-fledged way and path to making and capitalizing on all of this that happened literally at the beginning or towards really the end of the month, July 31st. So again, that's what it is that we're actually going to go ahead and conclude with for this video. Again, if you found this video helpful in terms of utilizing the NTP system, by all means, give a like, give a comment, subscribe. But more importantly, if you want help in terms of getting better at this, because again, you may feel like this helps solve some of your problems and you want to be able to get to the money aspect of being able to be consistent when it comes to trading, feel free to join the NVSTRs Hub community, the Investor Funding Academy, so that way you can actually learn from our live trade outs and call outs, and be able to simply just copy us, right? So this has been everything in this video. Hope to catch you guys in the next one, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.